Hey family, so today's kind of the day of grid down. We've been talking about a lot of different things with grid down. I want to bring another video to you about 5 things to do before the internet goes down. So basically, there's always this fear that there's multiple things that could take the power down, the grid down, and i.e. could take down our internet, so that you're not able to just at the tip of your fingers go on the internet and get things. And so what I want to talk about is 5 different areas to think about when we talk about preparing for the internet to go down. So number 1 is writing down addresses, phone numbers, any kind of information about people, your family, your friends that you feel like you would need to write down and know, to understand where somebody lives, their address, how to get there, where it's at on a map, you know, what major roads you would take to get to it, right? But knowing that address so that we ever got to a point where there was no internet, but maybe the postal service was still up and you were still able to send letters and talk to people and communicate with family that way, like we just went back to horse and carriage days. How would you communicate? And knowing addresses is important. This is also addresses for business stuff, right? Maybe we still have the ability to pay things, but the internet is down, so we don't have the ability to do it online. I don't have the ability to just log onto a website, pay a bill, but maybe we still have money. We still have some form of money and payment and some sort of economy going, right? Then I'm able to pay, but I'm just not able to pay like online, right? But I'm able to pay in person or through the mail or whatever. How do you do that? But you need to have addresses and know where things need to be sent or where you possibly need to go. Like if it's somewhere local, right? I'm going to go to my local utility to pay something, right? Obviously, if the internet's down, there's probably no power. There's probably other things that are not down. And so maybe you're not paying certain utilities, but just think about, excuse me, my throat is itching. Just think about the different addresses and the importance of having those things for bills and people you know. And then phone numbers. If you still have, for some reason, landlines, or you have the ability to call people, you're going to want to have that stuff. Maybe your phone goes down, your phone's, you know, the internet goes down, the hacking happens, you don't even have the phone numbers in your phone. Maybe there's no power, whatever it is. Get those phone numbers, especially if you've invested in a satellite phone and that stuff works and you're like, wow, I wish I would have saved these numbers. So make sure that you have emergency numbers, family numbers, sat phones. Super, super important to try to have as much communication as you can, but writing stuff down. This could be as simple as writing recipes down, right? So writing stuff down, making sure that you have information and that you're not just, you can keep stuff electronic in a computer, online, in the cloud, whatever, but you need to have backups, physical backups, printed out, written down, that type of thing, okay? Do not get away from just doing stuff old school because they say that we should change. You can change with the times, but make sure that you have your backups that will help you when stuff changes or glitches or is hacked or whatever the case may be. Okay, next thing I have is maps. Maps of your town, maps of your local roads, maps of your states, maps of the states between you. If you plan to bug out any maps that are involved in that, United States maps, you know, Canada maps, Southern America maps. I mean, anything that remotely could be, you know, important for you or wanting to have. But your local maps, super important. It's super important to know where your mountains are, your waterways are, your roads are, your back roads, whatever, okay? Your little city. If you're having to, there's no cars, possibly there's no power, there's no internet, you know, there's no GPS that you could just go on Google Earth or whatever. How are you getting around? How are you knowing where to go? Can you figure it out in a lot of places? Sure, right? But let's say you have a physical address written down and you're trying to find stuff and orient that on the map and try to find out where this is at. You need to have maps, okay? Super, super important. And important to teach our children maps and how to use maps because that's like a forgotten thing. That's not a thing that's taught anymore. And showing your children how to use a map, how to view stuff, how to use the legend, all of this stuff matters, okay? Next thing I have is power. So food, water, meds, right, is my baby. And I want you to think about power because you can live without power, right? We can live without power. But I want you to think about preparing and having power for the things you need: food, water, meds, the important things that have to do with food, water, meds, right? So powering, you know, a rice cooker for cooking food or something along those lines, maybe a little skillet, water, right? What do you need in the regards to power and water, if at all, right? What do you need in regards to meds? Is there certain machines that you need to be able to run a fridge, maybe a fridge for food, maybe a fridge for medicine, maybe a food, a CPAP, machine. But basically think about the three things, the important things. How does that play into power? And what do you need in order to keep that power going? That has to do with those things that will help you survive, okay? Power. You don't have to have power, but if you had certain things that you did want to power, what are those things, and preparing for that, okay? The next thing that I would think about when we talk about an American blackout, we talk about preparing for no internet, no power, no any of that stuff. That's communications. How are you going to communicate? You possibly no longer even going to be able to get on phones or get on, the internet and just chit chat and all these apps for chatting, right? Not able to even do that. How are you communicating? What do you have? Do you have radios where you can listen to what's happening, right? It's an American blackout. What is happening right now? What happened to the internet? You can't just jump on the internet and say, oh, this is, Google, what happened? Google, what's going on? Google, tell me the current news. None of that stuff is happening, right? And so how are you getting that information? Radios. How are you communicating with your family? How are you talking? We talked about satellite phones a little bit earlier. Do you have a satellite phone? Does your family have a satellite phone, right? If a situation happens, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's happened somewhere else. So maybe you have a satellite phone, your whole area is out, but maybe you're able to still call somebody whose cell phone still works on the other side of the country, possibly, or a different state or whatever, right? So again, having that stuff written down and then having that ability to call somebody, talk to somebody, communicate with your family, make sure they're okay if you can, right? The next thing is security for a blackout, whether it's short-term or long-term. Security is a huge thing that I think about. You want to be able to protect your preps, the things that you've invested in, making sure that people are not able to steal it from you, not able to steal your food, water, meds from you. Super important for you to be able to protect your family physically from violence, from theft, from people trying to take stuff from you. Because it's going to be a dog eat dog world. It's not going to be nice. And the more time that goes by, the worse that's going to get. And so if you have not thought about security, if you have not thought about fortification, that's super important. It needs to be thought about, it needs to be planned out. And when we talk about preparing for an American blackout, we prepare for no internet, no power. That's a huge, huge piece of it. I mean, it's almost as important as stockpiling the food, water, meds, right? You have to be able to have the ability to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect those things, those assets that you have purchased over the years to be able to continue to live your life and be comfortable and survive, basically, okay? There's a lot of things that we could talk about. We just talked about grid down. It's super important. Make sure that you're going through these areas, but we don't talk enough about American blackout, and what would happen if there was some sort of blackout and it was for a significant amount of time, and what that does to people. It's one thing to prepare for a grid down. Obviously, you prepare for that. You're prepared in a lot of ways, but there's just so many aspects and little tiny pieces that variables that people just don't think about. And no internet blackout where you can't just go to the internet to get your answers, to get your things is a problem. People can't communicate because that aspect is gone, is taken away. That's a problem. People are going to lose their minds. They're going to lose their minds, and it's not going to be good, right? So continue to stockpile the things, continue to go through the list from the video before, continue to look at these things and be thinking about them, and how do you prepare for them, and how do you get these areas stockpiled and ready to go and thought through. And hopefully, even if you've been doing this for a while, the stuff that we've talked about in the videos today really gets your mind going about different things that you need to get stockpiled in your house that maybe you didn't have before, or you have but you didn't have enough of it, or maybe there's another little aspect of that a spin-off, if you will, that gets your mind going on another thing that you need, or another aspect of an area that you need. Okay, so you guys be well, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye.